So basically, I'm just waiting for a few minutes to speak to George Galloway. He's going to give us his thoughts about the conference. And one of the things that I think's really been interesting about today is that we had an opportunity to hear the views of ordinary members and to also encourage those people who are listening to this broadcast to get more involved in the Workers' Party. Now, I don't know about you, but Labour and the Conservatives, as well as Reform, in my opinion, do not reflect the views of the vast majority of the British public. And I think the vast majority of the British public... Jump up onto the Workers' Party website, come and have a look, see what we're doing, see if you have a local branch, because it's the kind of party that you can get involved in. It's not the same type of system. If you know anything about the Labour Party, if you know anything about the Conservative Party, invariably they are not very representative. They have a very small clique of people, and they never really truly engage because they just want the votes. And once they have the votes, you never see them again. But with the Workers' Party, it's a whole different kettle of fish. So please do consider joining. Take out the membership, get involved, find out if you have a local branch. And if you don't have a local branch, why don't you join one? Why don't you start the local branch? Hello and good afternoon and welcome to Denise Headley coming live from the Workers' Party conference with our party leader, George Galloway.
Denise, you are a superstar. I've been following your work now for such a long time. I mean, you need to be on the bigger stage. And now you're on the National Committee of the Workers' Party. We intend to make good use of your talents.
Absolutely, George. I'm so glad to be here. Could you tell us what are some of the key takeaways that you'd like to share with the audience from the conference?
Yeah, well, I've just had my lunch. Please forgive me.
That's cool.
We are the party that will stand up against Nigel Farage and Reform. We're the only party that will. The minority ethnic communities, whether Muslim or not Muslim, have every reason to fear the rise of the right in Britain. The evidence of other countries makes that clear. So who's going to defend the communities? It's going to be us. We will be there and ready to give our blood, if necessary, to defend Britain's minorities. But we also have an offer for the majority, which the other parties don't have. They believe in the same old. I mean, if you look at the NHS, for example, Farage, he wants to literally sell it.
Yeah, you were talking about he was a privatiser, even West Streeting probably.
Yeah, West Streeting secretly, but Nigel Farage openly. They want to make an American insurance-based health system. And if you don't have insurance, and we know the people who will not have insurance, then you'll be basically treated as sick people were in the 1920s and 30s in this country. Yeah. You'll be relying on charity. You'll be relying on churches. The health service will then be stratified so that the better your insurance, the better the treatment you'll get. So none of these other parties have anything to offer. The majority, never mind the minorities in Britain. I mean, Denise, our country is going down the tubes. Everybody knows it. Everyone can see it. Anyone that's got money or a skill set to sell is leaving. People are going back to where their parents, grandparents came from. Others are finding new pastures. But the majority of people are stuck here. We don't have anywhere to go. So we've got to save Britain before it's too late.
George, I wish I could have more time with you, but I know conference is starting. Thank you so much for spending some time on the Headley Highlight Show.
Please keep following Denise Headley. She's a superstar.
Hello and good afternoon, and this is Denise Headley coming live from the Workers' Party conference. Yes, I brought to you yesterday the deputy leader of the party. I also brought to you some of our members and some of the things that we've been talking about at conference. But today I'm joined by...
Harry Boota.
So tell us, Harry, you have been a candidate for the Workers' Party in the past?
I have been a candidate for many parties in the past. One of the candidacy was in 2015. I was in one of the other parties. I'm not going to name it right now. But I was standing in Bradford West. And who was in Bradford West in 2015? George Galloway. And he was the sitting MP in 2015, and I stood against him and we had a very nice campaign together on the opposite sides.
Well, at least you're still able to have you're congenial.
We were friends. And I think I found out on the 10th of January, which was my birthday, by the way, that I got selected to stand in Bradford West. George was in the hotel foyer on that day as well. So immediately, we weren't going to disclose our intentions for the 29th of January, but because he was in the hotel, we quickly walked in there, took a snap, and tweeted straight away that George Galloway and Harry Boota are going to be opponents in this 2015 Bradford West election. And then that's where it started. And my first tweet was, I think, if I remember rightly, that because George Galloway was the Respect Party at the time, I said a British naval veteran meets a political British veteran, and respect all around, right? So that was my first tweet as far as George was concerned, and we continued the campaign on that level. Because there was no fight between me and George, right? It was him and Labour that was the main problem, not me. And I just enjoyed the campaign.
So in terms of like where you are now, it's great you joined us now. Yes, of course. We're not opposite dialing. We're all on the same.
Again, in May, I was independent, and then I thought that being with the party gives you. I think it's all been spoken about this thing where it's better to have the backing of a party rather than being on your own for political campaign, especially MP, standing for MP. And I stood in Bradford South for Parliament in July, and I decided that the best party that spoke my language on human rights, on Gaza, was the Workers' Party. And as workers, everyone is struggling as workers, and the only party that spoke up was the Workers' Party for the workers. And at the end of the day, 95% of us are workers. You know what I mean? And it's how we connect this 95% is a challenge, because that ground was taken by Labour for over 100 years. And to turn around people's mentality that's been ingrained for over 100 years is a very difficult challenge. But I think with with our leader and his past is a political giant for the last 40 years nearly, right? And so with that, we hopefully the challenge will be a lot easier. But it's not never becomes easier, because changing people's minds is a very, very difficult. And as I said when I was speaking in the conference earlier on, that when you're knocking doors, people say, go away, right? But once you've warmed up to them, or they've warmed up to you, they do change their minds.
But don't you find also that one of the comments that I got when I was doing the door knocking is that we haven't seen anyone for 10 years?
Well, this is it. Because, do you know, the reason behind that, Denise, is that Labour, especially Labour, I mean, Conservatives do it to a lesser or larger degree, but especially Labour, in Labour seats, they take it for granted. They take the public for granted.
Yes.
They think, well, they can sit at home, why waste the resources, why waste the time? They're going to get the vote anyway.
Yeah.
Right, but when you go knocking on the door and say, you are the first person who's likes it for 10 years, we've never seen anybody, they go, wow, okay, and you get the vote.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I'm saying that it's very, very important to go door knocking. If you can get a team to door knock, there are rejections. You're going to get lots of rejection with that. And that's what happened. We feel disheartened. After the first, oh God, your heart drops. You're thinking, you know.
And people say things to you. They just close the door and you're absolutely. It can be very dispiriting. What you need to do in that circumstances, you just have to get over that initial feeling of rejection.
That's it.
You know, and don't take it personally. You know,
Absolutely.
Once they kind of know you for maybe all of 3 minutes, you might find yourself, like you said, then the poster goes in the window.
Then the poster goes in the window, and that's a challenge. And once you've got a poster in the window, you've got their hearts and minds. Then they will tell the neighbours, so they'll start doing the work for you as well. So this is the kind of thing, and that's why am I with the Workers' Party? To challenge, to campaign for the workers. You know, if God has given you, I said, you know, thank God that my background, I've been in the armed forces, I'm a veteran of, I've been in the Falklands War, Gulf Wars, God knows what, and survived them and still here. And then in politics, I stepped into politics in 2007 with one of the other parties. But it's a journey. It's a journey that's ongoing. And I've been with other parties, and you only find out what they are from the inside when you go inside.
I've had parties.
Yes, so I've seen it. I think I've got every colour of the rainbow. I should have it painted here. But
we're very inclusive. Let's put it that way. I think what's important is that you have been able to actually, not only that, you're involved with the Workers' Party.
Yeah.
You've actually now gone out and stood for us as a candidate, and essentially you are going to continue to stand for us as a candidate. And the mere fact that you've come to conference also indicates the clear dedication you have to the Workers' Party. So I'd like to thank you, Harry.
But when I make my mind about doing something, I do it wholeheartedly, from the bottom of my heart.
There's no point in rework.
No. There are superficial things, right?
Yeah.
But then when you do, I do it from the heart, and I hopefully people see that, and then
Okay, cool. Well, look, Harry, I'm going to just wrap us up. I'm going to speak to Josiah, but I'd like to thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome, Denise. Thank you ever so much.
Follow me on
I've
X.
just followed you now.
I would like to welcome to the on the spot at the party conference with Denise Headley, host of the Headley Highlight Show, Josiah Uche. Josiah Uche, who was also a candidate in
Mid Derbyshire.
So, Josiah, tell us, what are the key things and the key takeaways that you have in relation to the Workers' Party conference?
Well, I have to be honest with you, it's been an eye-opener, There's a lot of challenges, there's a lot of, it's nice to be around people that believe have the same value as you. This is what politics is all about. All my life I've been taught about, the British values, what it stands for. And it came to a point in my life I think, okay, I need to do something, And when I see that everything you've learned about the British values, freedom, the freedom to the right to free speech, freedom to protest, and democracy, all these things being undermined by the political establishment, you're thinking, hang on a second, if I can fight them out there, you have to fight them politically, and this is why. Obviously, being involved with the Labour Party, but seeing where the party is heading, the direction the party is heading doesn't align with those values anymore, and for me, it becomes a bit personal. So, Workers' Party, obviously, after doing my research and watching George Galloway, what he stood for, he has been a campaign he's been anti-apartheid, anti-war, all these things. Are the things that are important to me. And obviously, with the recent event in Gaza, thank goodness it's all stopped now. Okay, if it wasn't for the, a lot of work from the normal ordinary people, campaigning against that, fighting, protesting against that, I don't think that would have stopped. But we have achieved that. So, this Congress it feels good, and I'm proud that I'm able to come over here to share the same experience as people that have the same belief as me.
I think that's an excellent contribution, Josiah. And you spoke about Gaza as a motivating factor in terms of the things that you wanted to think about in your political ambitions. Have you got any thoughts about what's happening in DRC right now? Because there's a major issue going on in DRC, doesn't get a lot of headlines, doesn't have the same headlines as Gaza, and that's been going on for a very, very long time. This wasn't part of the main question, but I just want to know, what's your thoughts about what's going on in DRC? Is that something you could share with us?
Absolutely. I mean, just like, this is the thing, I always have to come back to that British value, and, yesterday in the Congress we spoke about the sovereignty, the British sovereignty being challenged, and that's part of the issue we're talking about here. Obviously, Britain as a global player, it's very important when you come to the global arena, the British contribution to the world development, democracy, and we cannot shy away from that. So when you talk about DRC, what's happening over there, and I can tell you that what's happening over there is not far from what's happening in Gaza.
Exactly.
This issue...
It's a similar type of... This guy, I was talking to this young man, and he called it a genocast. Not a genocide, but it's a genocast. And what he said is it's genocide linked primarily to economics in terms of you do the genocide so you can derive the profit from the community.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was a really interesting word.
Yes, and this is the thing is the Workers' Party, we are anti-globalist. There is a reason why we are anti-globalist, because the simple issue is these globalists, the multi corporations, are the ones solely responsible for what's happening in all these countries. They are responsible for what's happening in Britain, this is what's happening internationally, and Gaza and DRC, and the same way people are being exploited for multi-corporational interests is what we fight, what we hear, what we're fighting against. So unfortunately, that doesn't get enough media coverage, and
it doesn't even have as much coverage as the Palestine question.
Absolutely.
DRC is only on the lips of Western media because of independent media artists who are pushing it, like on TikTok or on Instagram or on Telegram. That's why we know about it. Those people who are not listening to BBC or ITV.
Of course, I mean, this is the thing that I'm very glad I'm pleased that a lot of platforms like yourself actually exist at the moment, because if it wasn't for platforms like yourself, ordinary people like myself, like other people who are using X and Instagram, TikTok to highlight these issues, the mainstream media are not interested, because the same globalists are very much invested into this mainstream media. They own the media, so of course they're not going to,
They're just going to put you and me on there.
Absolutely, they're not going to undermine their own interests, So this is why we keep pushing. I mean, like us, the Workers' Party, we're using social media, every platform we can use to reach out to the audience, to highlight these issues and to say, look, the reason why we are anti-war, anti-globalist, because we know that this thing has a hand in every conflict around the globe. And until we start to fight those globalists, I don't think we can solve those problems. So unfortunately, myself, I'm interested in what's happening in DRC. If it's happening anywhere in the world, not just like it's happening in Ukraine, just anywhere in the world, I'm interested, because I believe in the British value, like I said, freedom, democracy. I believe in the human rights, and I think that the world economically is the world can create a system that can feed every human being on
we
this
can
planet.
do that now.
Absolutely.
We have the capacity to eradicate famine, but there is no political will to do so. And essentially what you have is that you have many of the African countries, they have debt in dollars. So in order for them to pay that debt off, they have to earn dollars first. And they're growing crops, they're growing, resources that the West only wants. So they're not focused on a domestic agenda.
This is a massive big problem, and it's like the issue is endless. Wherever you look at the problem, whether it's in Africa, in Asia, South Asia, you see some people are responsible. Okay, and then this is why we cannot stop with this fight. Okay, because for example, you mentioned Africa. What's happening in Africa? The way most of these countries are debt-ridden to the point where it's almost impossible to develop the economy.
That's a deliberate act.
It is man-made. And I can tell you that the poverty, the global poverty, the global conflict, all the issues are man-made.
Yes.
Because if we have the willpower, we can eradicate, like you said, the poverty. Then again, I keep coming back to this multi-corporation and these globalists, because the banking system holding Africans responsible, empowering.
It's Bretton Woods. It's the old Bretton Woods system.
That's the system that keeps these countries where they are today. Okay, they're using this debt, unnecessary debt. They're using a system of, we know on paper, on books, and the colonial system is finished. You would like to believe.
They didn't. They left, but they left their system in place. So they outsourced it. They just put us in front. So we were in the same space.
It wasn't eradicated. No. It was just remodernized, and that's what the problem is. So and the system still was strangling these African countries, and until African leaders actually wake up to smell the coffee and realize that we need to develop a local system that works for the local people, just like we were fighting in Britain here.
Just like the workers, they work for local people with local politics.
Our communities, we put out the interest of our communities at the forefront of what we are trying to achieve here. 100%. And until all these countries, this is why I'm up for multipolar the system, if you like, because it kind of localized the interest in local interest. I mean, until these people almost take charge of their own communities,
self-determination.
They can never, because you end up having multi corporations, free companies, NGOs.
Different companies coming over to take, and then suddenly your country's riddled with terrorists, which they weren't there before. They wanted the resources. So it's like, but I think the key thing for me in terms of like the Workers' Party is that it's very representative. It incorporates a number of people's views and different communities. And I think you're a perfect example of that. I know you've done a lot of work in Dudley. You're going to stand again, hopefully.
Yes, in Derbyshire, mid-Derbyshire.
Excuse me, sorry. I knew it was a D, mid-Dub. Sorry, my bad.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
You're going to stand again?
Obviously, like I said, it was the first time, July was the first time I've been involved in politics. And
how many votes did you get?
Well, I was just over 150 votes.
It doesn't matter.
It was a one-man band campaign, if you like.
You and me,
but we did fantastic. I mean, a lot of people. The message at the time, obviously, Gaza was at the center of what we were doing at the time. So, we managed to reach out to almost 5,000 people who were previously not aware of what was happening. Exactly. But when we highlighted it, and I think those people, I don't believe that most of the people, I would say half of the people we approached didn't vote, okay? And the ones that voted, with the continuous conversations, I don't believe that they'll be voting for the parties they voted. So, which is positive, for us, because now, like I said, one of the key things that set me off, when you hear a human rights lawyer, Keir Starmer,
Queen's Counsel, don't forget, nonetheless. I think you know a thing or two about international law.
Actually stating on the national TV that it is right to deprive 2.2 million people water, energy. I mean, this is a basic human right under UN Charter, actually protected. And then for the country leader to make those statements and without being challenged, I think is very troubling and quite disappointing. So, and I believe that a lot of people we approach, when this was highlighted to them, it helped them to actually recognize that, hang on, these are not British values.
No.
Okay, this is against the British interest, and this is what we're fighting against.
Well, can I just say, Josiah, it's been an absolute... Let me squeeze in there. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I've really appreciated you sharing your thoughts and your views, and also making me feel welcome at the Workers' Party. Because when I came in, I sat next to you and your son who's behind filming, and you guys are really nice and welcoming, so I just wanted to thank you for that. But it's really important to share your views, get people out there, and also show the motivation, and I think you've really done that. So can I just thank you so much?
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
And we look forward to more broadcasts in the future.
Yes,
absolutely. Come on my show, I'll pick you.
I will be there. I'll be there.
What's your name?
Philip Bimson.
Well, Philip, welcome to the Headley Highlight Shows live, coming directly from the Workers' Party conference. Could you give us some thoughts, Could you give us some thoughts about what you think the conference is like and some of your key takeaways, please?
Well, I'd like to say that the Workers' Party conference that we're here today in 2025, absolutely amazing. It's grassroots, it's multicultural, it's every type of person that I know, because you've probably guessed by my accent, I'm from Liverpool. Oh. So in Liverpool we have a strong tradition of multicultural interaction.
It was a slave port.
Unfortunately, so was.
You've also got a museum there, haven't you?
And it tells the true story of what happened to the enslaved peoples of the continent of Africa. A sad tale, a really bad time in anyone's history. But it's there, and hopefully we will learn from
100%.
These things. Unfortunately, we also have another museum which is quite close, and it's full of artifacts from the Benin community.
Yeah.
So we've got
they're still trying to get their statues back, aren't they?
I'm
Them
thinking,
and the Elgin marbles.
Yes, that's true. Well, I think they should at least give half them back.
They're just holding on to the
Yes,
stuff.
we're looking after them for it.
We're so concerned. They're helpful. They're very helpful.
Yes. And it's a joke. It is a joke. And at least, from a cultural point of view, you should at least return 50% of the stolen goods. Because, if it was stolen goods and they were found in the police station, you do get them back eventually. But anyway, that's...
Depends on the police station.
That's true. That's imperialists for you, unfortunately. But believe me, if our party gets in, maybe... When our party gets in, do you know what? You and I could be in charge of cultural artefacts.
We could have a reparations committee.
Yes, we could actually take them back personally.
Oh, I'd like that.
To all these different places. We can visit all these lovely, fancy, exotic places. Enjoy some of the beautiful, amazing food and rice.
Culture.
Of course.
And all of the different things that are there.
Of course.
Absolutely fab.
Yes.
I think we've got a plan.
I think
we might need to speak to the management about our suggestion, but we're cultivating it right now.
Actually, I'm going to go and make arrangements right now. So it's Philip Bimson from Merseyside saying ciao and thank you so much.
Well, Phil, thank you so much for speaking. Just one more thing before you go. What are your key takeaways from the conference?
That I am not alone. And that's all I can say. I am not alone in my thoughts, and neither is anybody else. We support everybody. Everybody here is like a little beacon of light and hope. And it's nice to meet like-minded people. Ciao. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Thank you so much.
Peace and love.
Thank you so much for Phil from Merseyside. That was fabulous. Thanks a lot, Phil. So, I'm joined by...
Jon Maxted, the outgoing South East coordinator for the party.
So, Jon, lovely to meet you. What have been some of your key takeaways from the conference?
It's been really reassuring, actually. I was expecting a lot more contention on a lot of issues, but actually we're all largely of one mind on a lot of the key things. The commitment to the party's socialist line, I think, is a critical thing. That the absence of that would have essentially ripped the beating heart out of the party, in my opinion. So it's good to know that we are still firmly committed to that as one of the founding values of the party. And besides that, a lot of the good work that we're going to be pursuing from here on out, particularly regarding the campaigning aspects, because we've naturally been chasing elections for a very long time. There's a bit of a lull in that in some areas now. So it'll be good to actually get down into campaign work to engage with ordinary people and show what our party's about, that we're out in the interest of ordinary people.
Excellent, Jon. Tell me, what are some of the key ideas that you have, or the party should have, to engage more young people and women?
The women's issue is a particularly contentious one. It's one that we need to address, in my opinion, quite urgently. We've had several people who have moved away from the party on that issue on the basis of a perception that maybe the party is something of a boys' club. But that is, I was surprised by one of them, for example, when I was holding a branch meeting down in Brighton, and one of our now ex-members approached me to suggest that one of our 10-point programme was actually sexist. It was number 6. I think it came from looking at the wording of it. I could see how it could be interpreted that way. I know we have a motion in here today to amend that point in the 10-point programme, because it seems to suggest that laundry work is work for women. I don't think that was the written intention of it. It might just speak to the bias of the person who wrote it, maybe. But I say that, I know for a fact that that motion was co-written by Lauren, one of the female members of that at NMC when we made that. So it's a valid concern. It's something we need to address because they represent 50% of the population in this country, and their voices are just as valid as anyone else in our party. So I think that in particular is a really, really pressing one.
What about the young people?
Yeah.
Get the under 30s to join, be active, and also engage.
Yeah, I think this is, again, something that we need to catch up on. I think a major thing we've attempted to do in the past was engage with university communities. And I did a bit of this work myself down in Brighton, but that was a co-project with other groupings. We worked together hand in hand with a group called the RCG and also the Young Communist League, because they also lacked representation there. And we tried to essentially project a non-sectarian socialist front, because again, I think this is a related issue. It's not necessarily about us as an individual party like muckraking and taking on this crabs in a bucket mentality towards any other group and pulling them down just because they're doing well in one area and we're doing well in another area, and as like it's some kind of competition. A lot of us share like 90% of our values. It's just that remaining 10% where we have minor differences here or there, and we allow ourselves to split hairs, and we're comprehensively defeated in detail that way. So I think being able to overcome that and at least work on the main things, at least on a campaigning front, not on an electoral front, that's different, but on campaigning matters, that's, I think, an essential step forward for us actually getting gains in our community. So we began doing that there. Unfortunately, the things I just talked about, that crabs in a bucket kind of sectarian mentality, did assert itself and it collapsed. But before it did, we held a freshers' fair for that group. We formed a student society there for socialists of all types, be you a communist or someone more even towards a social democratic scale. And it was a non-sectarian society. And it got 80 sign-ups on that day.
Oh, fabulous.
So
what that tells me is that the banner will bring people in. Whereas if you get down to sometimes, like you said, the nuances of slight differences of opinion, that could be the reason where things get, slightly dispersed.
Yeah, we need to take a pragmatic approach when it comes to, we have our values and we can agree to disagree on certain key criteria, but we can't let it get in the way of the shared values that we have as well. Like if we're all in the interest of, for example, protecting the NHS, we need to be prepared to bury the hatchet, at least until such time that campaign is done and we've all won, Then we can go back to arguing like cats in a bag, But
so you're from the Brighton branch?
Yeah, I'm based down in Brighton.
If people want to get in touch with the local party in Brighton, what do they need to do?
You could send me an email at john@workerspartybritain.org, or you could send it on to the main party at info@workersparty.org, and then the General Secretary or his deputy will put you in touch with me.
Excellent. John, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for joining the live.
Thank you so much.
Lovely. Well, let's do the handshake on throughout. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, John. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it has been a pleasure.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, John.
A few moments later.
Yeah. We need a Discord channel.
I'd agree with that. I totally agree with that. We've got some groups, like youth groups in the party, that do that themselves, but independently.
Yeah.
There's it's not a party official thing, but there's a group ran by Lucas called, what's it called again, Cyclone. Okay. And they have their own Discord channel and try to get youth in through there. Yeah. And that's one avenue they've used to bring people on.
There's Twitch, because
I think Twitch is a really missed opportunity.
Yeah, Twitch is big now.
Twitch is huge. I mean, you think of people like Hassan Piker and the kind of following he's managed to pick up. Yeah, he appeared on Piers Morgan. He's appeared on when he got invited to the Democratic convention in America. They promptly kicked him out, but he got to get in the door,
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I think we need to do a lot more things which are what I would say. Politics is important, but you get people in because they're interested in what you're doing.
Exactly.
Or they're interested in the conversation that they heard.
It can't be a closed room thing.
No, and it can't just be not being funny, like very stiff.
Exactly.
I think we should have things like workers' party, youth women.
I think that would be a great one.
so
For
cool.
the women thing, that'd be great. You should have a word with Lauren about that.
Yeah, we
Should
could
be
have
on there.
that. Yeah, we could have workers' party loose women. And what that would then do to me is that it will bring women to have conversations. Because, what about the politics of food? We could share a recipe or two, but we could talk about the politics of food.
I mean, it's a major thing at the moment, the cost of living crisis. We're doing surveys down in Brighton. Yeah. We're engaging with the public there and talking about the matters that actually matter to them. Because we don't want to just campaign on the basis, like you're saying.
Mike, isn't it? That would be helpful.
Sorry.
Go on, go on.
So, we're campaigning at the moment down in Brighton, and before we've actually established our campaign, we're not just going to just come up with it on our own. We want to go to the public and actually speak to the public about what actually matters to them, what is affecting them. Like, for example, we go there and say, with cost of living, do you actually perceive it as rising? Is it okay? What's your living situation like? Do you rent? Does your landlord treat you well? Are you getting your money's worth for your rent? Do you have mold? All of these are relevant issues. Yeah, condensation issues. They're coming back, are they?
Oh, I just want to go and speak to that later.
No, of course.
And then I'm going to grab George. But it's been a joy to speak to you, Jon.
Yeah.
And we look forward to more, what can I say, vox pops from the Workers' Party.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Hello, welcome back to Denise Headley, coming live to you from the conference in Manchester. I'm joined by...
Oh, hi, I'm Lauren.
And you are?
So my name's Lauren, so I am a Workers' Party activist based in Birmingham. And I'm the trade union officer for the party as well.
Fabulous. So tell me, Lauren, what have been some of your key takeaways for the conference?
I think really it's reaffirming our commitment to the working class and socialism and fighting, for whatever reform that we can for the liberation of the working people of Britain. We've discussed a lot about family and about electoral work. And I'm really looking forward to the discussion this afternoon because I think it shows that there's a really engaged membership in the party. There's been quite a few good debates, which you yourself have also partaken in. Room for disagreement on smaller matters, but I think on the big questions, the party is acting with unity, and I think that's really important leading into, future by-elections and the next general election as well.
One of the things I heard you say yesterday, Lauren, you talked about not being caught in the left-right binary trap. Could you just elaborate a bit on that and why you think that's relevant, especially now for the Workers' Party, yeah?
So I think, for me, the terms left and right are kind of, they're unscientific. What is a left-wing view? What is a right-wing view? And I think over time these things become flipped and muddied. And, it used to be the old left that were champions of free speech, but now that seems to be an issue that's really taken up by the right wing, which is why I think it's better for us to just reject that labelling or full stop. We're not left wing, we're not right wing, we are socialists, we advocate for the working class. From that issue might fall on. And I think it really, the media use this left-right divide to really hide the true nature of society, which is that there's a ruling class and there are a working class, and it's not a left and right, it's a top and a bottom, which is what our Deputy Leader Peter Ford pointed out yesterday as well. So that's why that issue is so important to me, and I think there was a really good discussion around it as well, so I'm happy.
What are the key things that you think the party can do to attract more women and people who are under 35? Should we be having the Workers' Party Loose Women podcast? Hint, hint.
I think we all want more women in the party, absolutely, and but I know the challenges. I'm here with my 8-month-old baby this weekend with my husband, who's also a party member. It is tough to get involved in politics and be out for the weekend and be out leafleting and campaigning if you have children. And
I know. I was a councillor. I had twins, and I used to take my daughters to my scrutiny panels with the carry cases.
Yeah. It's, it is an additional barrier, but, it's worth it. And, that's why, we've made the commitment to be here with our baby this weekend. And also, the younger you get them involved, the more they get used to being around, as I say, hopefully. But yeah, I'm not sure, but I think that there needs to be more emphasis put on women's issues.
Do you think that's something, in terms of emphasis on women's issues, how do you think that resonates with the top part of the party? Because as far as I can see, it's very, very, it's put it this way, it's just very male and it's very white.
It's very male dominated for sure, and there is, it is very white as well. But I think part of this Congress has sort of broadened out the leadership body of the party, the NMC. I mean, our previous Congress a year and a half ago, the party was much smaller than what it is now. And, we've grown a lot since George's election in Rochdale, and we've wanted to, harness the energy of all of these new members and expand the NMC because, we want that diversity of views and from the people who've been candidates and out campaigning in the general election. It's all of our party. And I mean, it's something that we should discuss, but I think, the emphasis on women's issues, on the young. I mean, we do need more young people in the party as well. I'm not that young myself.
I just use really good creams.
But, I think women's issues I've tried to do a bit to highlight in Birmingham. We went to one of the Let Women Speak rallies in Birmingham last year and sort of stood with the feminists who are, demanding, advocating for women's right to speak and say, a woman is a woman doesn't have a penis, etc. Things that shouldn't really need to be said.
That's a very important issue because a lot of people, I think, felt that the spaces for women to be women were effectively being eroded because you had to now share those spaces with women who were not biological women. Yeah. And it doesn't ever work the other way. No. So women aren't going into men's spaces and saying, no, as would they don't have a chance.
No, they have. Exactly. And it's I think it's interesting what's happened in the US since Trump has been elected. They've, rolling back all of this sort of woke nonsense stuff. So it'll be interesting whether, Britain now doubles down on it or, we sort of swing back the other way. But, definitely we need to be highlighting these things more and we can work on that together. Absolutely. So,
Lauren, it's been an absolute pleasure. So I'm going to go back to the main part of the conference now and hopefully I'll be speaking with you a bit later. But thanks for joining. Speak to you soon. And cut.